He risked everything to protect the enemy's young. Now the alien mother wants him. Commander Elias Ward leaned against the observation window, his eyes tracing the shimmering constellations. Space had always fascinated him, the quiet, the vastness, the possibilities. But tonight, he felt a tension that clung to the corridors of his ship like a stubborn shadow. Orders from the High Command were clear. Patrol the neutral zone, avoid confrontation, and report any anomalies. Yet, deep inside, Elias sensed that tonight would be unlike any other. The ship's alarms broke the silence, a soft chime warning of an incoming signal from nearby sensors. Lieutenant Mara Chen, the communications officer, raised her eyes from the console. "Commander, there's an unidentified pod drifting near the asteroid belt in Sector 9G. It's moving erratically, almost like it's lost control." Elias' brow furrowed. "A pod, neutral zone clearance is strict. Identify it, Mara." Mara tapped the console, pulling up a visual. The pod was small, metallic, shaped like a smooth oval with faint markings that glimmered under the ship's scanners. It drifted dangerously close to jagged rocks, spinning slowly. Something about it tugged at Elias' instincts. He didn't know what, but he could feel it. This pod carried life, and that life needed help. "Commander, sensors detect faint biosigns inside," Mara reported, her voice a mix of caution and curiosity. Elias' heart skipped a beat. Biosigns, in the neutral zone. That could mean danger. Humans were supposed to stay away from alien species, especially the Arivians. They were known for their hostility and unmatched power, but he couldn't ignore it. "Prepare an emergency retrieval," Elias ordered. "We can't just leave them there." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Captain Ward's reputation for bold decisions was known throughout the fleet, but some feared his decisions sometimes flirted with recklessness. Yet, his moral compass had never led them wrong before, and the crew trusted him. As the Aurora approached the pod, space itself seemed to press in, as if holding its breath. Elias guided the ship carefully through the asteroid belt, avoiding collisions with the massive rocks that jutted from the void like frozen mountains. The pod spun closer, small but intact, its interior flickering faintly with a soft, pulsating light. "Commander, I'm picking up a small life form inside. Could be a juvenile Arivian," Mara said quietly. Her voice trembled slightly. Even trained officers couldn't hide their fear of the Arivians. Their kind were legendary for strength, intelligence, and ferocity when defending their young. Elias nodded, determination settling in his chest. "Then we have to save it. Prepare the retrieval drones. I'll go out on a tether if needed." Minutes later, the pod was secured inside the ship's cargo bay, carefully restrained but unharmed. Elias stared at the small creature inside. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Translucent skin that shimmered under the light, eyes that glowed faintly, and delicate limbs that clutched instinctively at the pod's interior. The young Arivian looked frightened but not aggressive. Elias felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness. "Commander, if the Arivian parent finds out we have it," Mara began, but Elias held up his hand. "I know, but life is life, Mara. This young one didn't ask to be lost in space. We protect it. That's what makes us human." The rest of the night passed with tense vigilance. The creature, whom they came to call Lyra, remained quiet, occasionally blinking at the crew with luminous eyes that reflected curiosity and fear. Elias spent hours observing, noting how the young one reacted to light, sound, and touch. It was intelligent, aware, and surprisingly adaptable. Meanwhile, the Aurora's sensors picked up anomalies, strange energy signatures approaching the ship from multiple directions. "Commander," Mara said, eyes wide, "there are several ships on an intercept course. They aren't responding to hails. They're Arivian." Elias felt a chill. He had anticipated complications, but not this quickly. Set defensive maneuvers, but no weapons fire unless necessary. "We're not here to fight. Our mission is to protect, not provoke." The Arivian ships appeared as dark silhouettes against the stars, sleek and menacing. Their presence alone made the ship hum with tension, but Elias remained calm, focusing on the young Arivian. Lyra had curled into a small protective ball, sensing the approaching danger. Elias knelt beside the containment chamber, speaking softly. "It's going to be okay. We're not your enemies. We just want to help." Hours stretched like days as the two fleets navigated the uncertain space. Communications attempts by the Arivians failed repeatedly. The aliens were cautious, their behavior calculated, yet Elias sensed they were observing. They were intelligent enough to know that aggression might provoke a response, but they were also determined to reclaim their young. During this tense period, Elias demonstrated what set humans apart: ingenuity, empathy, and patience. While the crew argued about protocols and risk, Elias designed a makeshift communication interface using lights, sounds, and gestures to establish trust with Lyra. Slowly, the young Arivian began responding, mimicking simple patterns, showing curiosity rather than fear. By dawn, something remarkable had happened. Lyra reached out a small, luminescent limb, touching the protective barrier that separated it from Elias. It was a fragile connection, but it spoke volumes. Trust could exist across species, even in the shadow of danger. The human crew marveled quietly, realizing that their commander's belief in morality over fear was more than ideology. It was survival. The Arivians outside, tracking the young one, must have sensed the same unusual dynamic. They were cautious, circling at a distance, watching, waiting, testing whether humans could be trusted. As the Aurora prepared to jump to a safer quadrant, Elias stood once more at the observation window, the first streaks of light from a distant sun reflecting in his eyes. He knew this was only the beginning. Rescuing the young Arivian had already changed everything. Political fallout, the wrath of a mother who would move stars to reclaim her child, and the test of humanity's character in the eyes of an alien species, none of it mattered to him. He had done the right thing, and for humans that was never negotiable. The stars outside continued their endless march, indifferent to human heroism, yet somehow, Elias felt that the universe itself had noticed. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "We protect life. That is who we are." Inside the cargo bay, Lyra shifted slightly, its luminous eyes meeting his. In that moment, Elias felt a connection that went beyond language or species, a bond born of compassion, courage, and the recognition that even the smallest act of kindness could echo across galaxies. The alarm chirped again, signaling a communication attempt from the approaching Arivian fleet. Elias squared his shoulders. Whatever came next, he would face it as a human, guided by ingenuity, morality, and the unwavering belief that life was worth protecting. And somewhere, he sensed, a mother was coming to test that belief. The first part of the journey had ended, but the story had only just begun. Humanity had staked its claim not with weapons or dominance, but with courage, empathy, and the choice to protect even those who might someday oppose them. Elias knew that this choice, simple yet profound, would be remembered, not just by his crew or the Arivians, but by the galaxy itself. He risked everything to protect the enemy's young. Now, the real challenge was only beginning. The Aurora drifted cautiously through the neutral zone, its engines humming a quiet rhythm that filled the corridors. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the viewports, watching the distant silhouettes of the Arivian ships. They were elegant and sleek, gliding through space with purpose and precision, yet they kept their distance. Elias knew this was only temporary. The Arivians were patient hunters, and they would come closer when the moment suited them. "Commander, sensors show they are maintaining formation," Lieutenant Mara Chen reported. "No aggressive maneuvers so far, but they are definitely tracking us. If we change course, they'll follow." Elias nodded, his jaw set. "Keep us steady. No sudden moves. Our priority is the young one. Lyra must remain calm. If they sense panic, all our work will be undone. In the cargo bay, Lyra was awake, its glowing eyes scanning the humans moving around it. The young Arivian had grown more confident in the past few hours, responding to simple gestures and sounds. It reached out with one delicate limb as Mara adjusted the containment field, as if acknowledging her presence. Small moments like this were victories, Elias thought, small lights in the vast darkness of space. Elias moved toward the bay, his boots echoing softly on the metal floor. "Good morning, Lyra," he said gently. The creature blinked, its luminescence pulsing faintly. Elias crouched, holding his hands out in a non-threatening way. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then tentatively reached toward him, brushing a tiny hand against his gloved palm. "Look at that," Mara whispered from behind him. "It trusts you." Elias smiled, a mixture of pride and concern. "Trust is fragile. We can't afford to break it now." The Arivians are watching. Hours passed with careful observation and quiet routines. The Aurora maintained its course, weaving through asteroid fields and dense star clusters to avoid detection while keeping Lyra safe. Elias spent time teaching the crew how to interact gently with the young Arivian, using light patterns and soft tones, emphasizing patience over action. Then the communication alarms chimed again. This time, the signal was different, structured, deliberate. Mara worked quickly, translating the alien pulses into something understandable. The bridge filled with tension as the message slowly became clear. "We know you have our young. Do not attempt deceit. Return it willingly." Elias read the message aloud, his voice steady. "They are direct. They are watching. This isn't a threat yet, but they want results. We have to respond carefully." "Commander," Mara said, eyes wide, "they're intelligent, smarter than anything we've dealt with. If we make a mistake, it could be catastrophic." Elias nodded. "I understand, but we also know what humans are capable of: compassion, creativity, problem-solving. We don't have to fight them to protect Lyra, we just have to be human." The next day, the Arivians moved closer. Their ships glided around the Aurora, scanning and observing without initiating attack. It was a silent standoff, each species evaluating the other. Elias noticed the subtle patterns in their movement, the way they mirrored the Aurora's trajectory, the way their sensors occasionally pulsed toward the cargo bay. It was as if they were studying not just the ship, but its occupants. Elias gathered the crew in the briefing room. "They're watching Lyra, they are trying to understand us, and we need to understand them. This isn't a battle of weapons, it's a test of patience, trust, and intelligence. We succeed by being human, not by firing lasers." The crew listened, some with doubt, others with awe. Elias' confidence was contagious. They had faced dangers before, but this was different. This was about morality, empathy, and the subtle power of choice. Throughout the day, Elias worked on a method to communicate with the Arivians indirectly. Using light pulses, patterns, and rhythmic sounds, he created a simple language of trust, symbols and sequences that Lyra could understand, and perhaps the parent Arivians as well. It was painstaking work, requiring the crew's full attention and cooperation. In the cargo bay, Lyra responded beautifully. Its small limbs traced the light patterns, mimicking the pulses with astonishing accuracy. Elias watched, heart swelling. The young one was learning, adapting, and demonstrating intelligence that rivaled the observations of even the most advanced human minds. "Look at that," Mara whispered. "It's not just learning, it's understanding." Elias nodded. "Exactly, and that's what will save it and us." By the third day, the Arivian ships had formed a more formal perimeter. Elias could feel the weight of observation, the silent scrutiny of an entire species judging humanity. Yet he remained calm, aware that fear would undermine his purpose. Instead, he focused on building trust with Lyra, refining the communication patterns, and keeping the crew steady. That evening, as stars glimmered against the endless void, a new transmission arrived. This time it was different. less of a command and more curious. The sequence was long and complex, filled with rhythmic pulses that resembled Lyra's patterns. Mara translated cautiously, "Your actions are unusual. You protect what you should fear." "Why?" Elias read it aloud, then smiled faintly. "They're asking why. They notice. They are curious. This is our chance to show them the best of humanity." He considered his response carefully. It had to be truthful, yet simple. He activated the communication console, sending light sequences that represented care, protection, and moral choice. It was abstract but precise, a reflection of human values rather than words. The Arivian ships held their positions, seemingly analyzing every pulse. For hours, nothing changed. Then, slowly, one of the ships tilted slightly, a gesture of recognition, perhaps even understanding. The crew murmured in amazement. Elias felt a surge of hope. Small as it was proof that empathy could cross species, that morality could speak where words could not. During this time, Lyra grew increasingly interactive. It began to respond to human emotions, nudging hands with tiny limbs when sensing anxiety, pulsing light when calm or curious. The crew adapted quickly, learning to read the young Arivian's moods and respond accordingly. Elias marveled at the bond forming, not just between him and Lyra, but among the humans themselves, united by a shared mission to protect life, no matter the cost. Then came the night of the first test. Sensors detected movement from the perimeter ships, a calculated maneuver that brought one vessel closer to the Aurora than ever before. Elias stood on the bridge, scanning the approaching ship. There was no aggression yet, only observation. Still, the message was clear. They were ready to challenge the humans to see if they truly cared for Lyra or were acting out of selfishness or fear. "Commander," Mara said quietly, "they're closing in. Any mistake could be seen as hostile. What do we do?" Elias took a deep breath. "We continue what we're doing, patience, calm, show them that our intentions are pure, that's our strength." Hours passed with tense silence, broken only by soft communications with Lyra. Elias and the crew continued their careful routines, maintaining the patterns, reinforcing trust, and showing unwavering dedication. Every gesture, every response, every decision was a lesson in humanity. Finally, the Arivian ship moved back slightly, a subtle but undeniable acknowledgement. The young Arivian pulsed its light in a complex pattern, almost in excitement. Elias smiled. "They are watching closely," he said softly, "and they are learning just as we are." The next few days were a delicate dance of observation and interaction. Elias realized that the Arivians were not just interested in reclaiming their young, they were evaluating humanity itself. Intelligence, empathy, courage, and morality were under scrutiny. Every choice mattered. One evening, as the Aurora passed a dense nebula, Elias stood with Mara and Dr. Kellen, the ship's scientist, in the cargo bay. Lyra pulsed gently in the containment field, its light reflecting on their faces. "It's amazing," Dr. Kellen said. "The way it adapts, the way it learns, it's like watching evolution in real time." Elias nodded, his eyes on the glowing young one. "Not evolution, Kellen, choice. Humanity is defined by choice, what we protect, how we act, what we value. Lyra sees that. The Arivians see that. And soon they will understand it too." Mara tilted her head. "Do you really think the Arivian mother will trust us?" Elias' eyes softened. "I don't know, but I know this: trust starts small. It begins with actions, not words. And so far we've shown more than anyone else could. That is our advantage." And somewhere in the distance, moving closer through the stars, was the mother, a being whose strength and intellect were legendary across human and Arivian space. Yet Elias did not fear her. He had a different kind of power: courage, empathy, and the willingness to risk everything for life. As the Aurora sailed through the neutral zone, the human crew prepared for the challenges ahead, united by a belief that kindness and intelligence could overcome fear, hostility, and even mistrust. The Arivians were formidable, yes, but humans were unique. And in this moment, Elias knew that humanity's true strength was not in weapons or technology, but in the very qualities that defined them: heart, mind, and spirit. Lyra pulsed brighter that evening, as if sensing the resolve of those around it. And Elias understood that the journey had only just begun. Protecting the young Arivian was no longer just about life. It was about proving, to the universe and to themselves, that humanity could rise to challenges no one else could face. And the Arivian mother, watching from afar, was about to discover that for herself. The silence of space was thick that day, broken only by the soft hum of the Aurora's engines. Commander Elias Ward stood at the bridge, eyes scanning the distant outlines of the Arivian fleet. Something was different now. One ship, larger and more imposing than the rest, moved with purpose, separating itself from the formation. Its sleek, silver hull reflected the starlight, but it carried an unmistakable presence, a presence Elias recognized immediately. "That's her," Mara whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "The Arivian mother, the one everyone talks about in hushed tones. Her intelligence, her instinct, they say no one has ever crossed her without consequence." Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of respect and determination. He knew that no weapon, no fleet, could compare to the test that lay ahead. Protecting Lyra had been the first challenge. Now, he faced the being who would define what the Arivians thought of humanity itself. In the cargo bay, Lyra stirred, sensing something in the approaching energy readings. Its small body glowed brighter, reacting instinctively to the presence of its parent. Elias knelt beside the young Arivian, placing a gentle hand on the containment chamber. "It's okay, Lyra. She's curious, not angry yet. We've done everything right so far. We'll continue to show her that we are trustworthy." The Aurora's communication system chimed, indicating a new signal. Elias stepped forward, bracing himself. Mara worked quickly, translating the incoming pulses. The message was simple, yet its tone carried authority and expectation. "We have observed your care for our young. We approach to understand your intentions. Prepare for assessment." Elia's eyes met Mara's. "Assessment, not attack. She wants to judge us. This is our moment to prove what it means to be human." The crew exchanged nervous glances. No one had faced an Arivian parent up close, much less one of this stature. Yet Elia's calm determination steadied them. He had always believed that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act rightly despite it. The Arivian mother moved gracefully toward the Aurora, her massive form seeming almost ethereal in the cold light of distant stars. Her ship was alive with movement, responding to the environment in ways human engineers could barely comprehend. Elias studied every motion, every change in energy readings. She was intelligent, deliberate, and cautious, a being who would test everything humans valued. In the cargo bay, Lyra pulsed in anticipation. Its trust in humans was now a delicate thread that Elias could not afford to break. He approached the young one carefully, continuing the patterns of light and sound that had become their language. Lyra responded immediately, pulsing in rhythm with the sequences, a clear signal of confidence and safety. Elia's voice was soft but firm. "She's coming to observe us. Remember what we are. Humans protect life, we act with intelligence, we think, we care." That's what we show her. Hours passed as the mother studied the Aurora from a safe distance. Her ship mirrored their maneuvers, scanning, analyzing. Elias noticed subtle changes in the young Arivian's behavior, as if it were reacting not only to humans but to the presence of its parent. Lyra's pulses became brighter, faster, more complex. It was excited, curious, and perhaps a little anxious. Elias crouched beside the containment field, adjusting the light sequences. "We need to show her consistency, Lyra. She is judging everything we do. Trust, patience, care, every choice counts." During this time, the crew witnessed something extraordinary. The Arivian mother's ship projected light sequences in response to Lyra's patterns, creating a silent conversation across space. It was as if the mother and child were speaking in a language of luminescence, and humans were learning to participate. Elias realized that communication was possible without words, without weapons, without aggression. Intelligence and empathy were enough. Mara's voice broke the quiet. "Commander, she's acknowledging our sequences. She's curious. She's testing us." Elias nodded, a surge of pride swelling in his chest. "Good, that's exactly what we need. We are not here to deceive, we are here to protect and understand. That is our strength." The following day, the Arivian mother made a calculated move. Her ship approached within closer range but did not attempt aggression. Instead, it created a complex pattern of light pulses, projecting questions, observations, and challenges. Elias studied them carefully, realizing that the mother was testing both human intelligence and morality. In the cargo bay, Lyra responded immediately, pulsing in new combinations that Elias had not taught it. It was improvising, showing creativity and understanding. The mother observed every response, analyzing the relationship between the humans and her young. Elias could see that this was more than a test of skill, it was a test of character. Elias gathered the crew for a meeting. "She is testing not just Lyra, but us. Every choice we make matters. She wants to know if we are capable of empathy, of thinking beyond ourselves, of protecting life without expecting reward. That is what will earn her trust." The crew nodded, determination replacing fear. They continued their careful routines, interacting with Lyra and projecting sequences of light and sound toward the mother's ship. Hours turned into days, and each successful interaction strengthened the fragile trust between species. One evening, while the Aurora navigated a dense star cluster, a new development occurred. The mother's ship created a bridge of light, a temporary channel connecting their energy patterns directly to the human systems. It was a silent invitation, a challenge to interact directly, to demonstrate understanding in real time. Elias' heart raced. "This is it," he said softly. "We are being invited into her world. Stay calm, be precise, and remember what it means to be human." For hours, Elias and the crew engaged in a delicate exchange, translating their intentions through patterns of light and sound. Lyra mirrored every sequence, providing feedback and reinforcement. The Arivian mother responded with increasing complexity, pushing the humans to adapt, think creatively, and act with patience. During the exchange, Elias realized something remarkable. The mother was not merely testing their intelligence, she was observing their values, their choices, and their willingness to act morally under pressure. Every action mattered. Every decision conveyed a message. Lyra pulsed brightly, signaling a breakthrough. Elias responded with the most intricate sequence yet, a pattern representing care, protection, and trust. The mother's ship paused, then slowly mirrored the sequence, an unmistakable gesture of recognition. The crew watched in awe. Humanity had communicated not with words or force, but with empathy, intelligence, and consistency. The next day brought the greatest challenge yet. Sensors detected the mother approaching the cargo bay directly, a deliberate move that brought her closer than ever before. Elias understood the significance. She was preparing for direct assessment. The crew prepared carefully, ensuring Lyra remained calm and comfortable. Elias crouched beside the young Arivian. "This is the moment we have been preparing for, Lyra. Be brave, stay calm, and trust us. We will protect you no matter what." The mother's ship projected light sequences that filled the cargo bay with a dazzling display, pulsating around Lyra. The young Arivian responded instinctively, creating patterns that mirrored the mother's intent. Elias and the crew adjusted, translating human values into signals the Arivians could understand. Minutes stretched into hours. The entire crew felt the weight of the moment, knowing that every pulse, every sequence, and every choice would shape the relationship between species. Elias realized that this was not just about protecting one young Arivian. It was about proving humanity's worth, its ability to act with courage, empathy, and intelligence. Finally, the mother's ship retracted slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. Elias exhaled, feeling a wave of relief and pride. The assessment was not complete, but the initial test had been passed. Humanity had demonstrated that trust, morality, and intelligence could transcend fear and hostility. The crew gathered in the cargo bay, watching Lyra pulse in bright, joyous patterns. "We did it," Mara said softly. "She sees us now not as enemies, but as capable of understanding and care." Elias smiled, placing a hand gently on the containment field. "This is only the beginning, but it is proof. Humanity's strength is not in weapons or dominance. It is in empathy, ingenuity, and the choice to act rightly, even when fear and uncertainty surround us." That night, Elias returned to the bridge, staring out at the Arivian mother's ship. There was still caution, still observation, but something had changed. The silent test had begun to evolve into mutual recognition. The mother was not yet fully trusting, but she was curious, engaged, and willing to learn. In the quiet of space, Elias felt a deep sense of purpose. Protecting Lyra had started as a moral choice, but it had become something greater, a demonstration of what humanity could offer the galaxy. Compassion, intelligence, and courage were not weaknesses. They were strengths that could reshape perceptions, build alliances, and inspire respect across species. As the stars shimmered beyond the Aurora's viewports, Elias whispered softly to himself, "We will continue to protect, to teach, and to show that humanity is worth trusting. And she will see it, eventually." Lyra pulsed brightly in the cargo bay, a small but unmistakable sign of connection. Elias smiled, feeling the bond between human and Arivian grow stronger with every moment. The mother's assessment was far from over, but humanity had already proven its essence. Courage tempered by empathy, intelligence guided by morality, and the unwavering choice to protect life, even that of an enemy. The galaxy had begun to notice, and the real journey, one of understanding, trust, and friendship, was just beginning. The Aurora drifted silently through the neutral zone, the stars reflecting off its sleek hull like scattered diamonds on black velvet. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the massive Arivian ship hovering nearby. This was no longer a distant observation. The mother had moved close enough that her presence filled the sensors with readings that humans had never encountered before. She was studying everything, Lyra, the crew, and most importantly, Elias himself. Elias took a deep breath. The moment of direct challenge had come. This was the true test of humanity: patience, intelligence, and morality under scrutiny from a species that could think faster, see more, and anticipate dangers with precision far beyond human capability. But Elias knew that humans had their own strengths. Creativity, empathy, and the ability to act morally despite fear were powers no machine or alien intellect could replicate. In the cargo bay, Lyra sensed the change. The young Arivian's pulses flickered more rapidly, and it pressed against the containment field with curiosity and apprehension. Elias knelt beside the small being. "Stay calm, Lyra," he said softly. "She's watching, but we know who we are. Remember, every choice we make is a lesson she can learn from." Lieutenant Mara Chen and Dr. Kellen monitored the Arivian signals from the bridge. "Commander," Mara said quietly, "she's projecting energy patterns directly into the bay. It's almost like she's creating a test environment for Lyra and us." Elias nodded. "Then we respond with what we do best: patience, intelligence, and care. That's our advantage." The next hour was a delicate dance. The mother's ship generated a series of energy pulses, creating light patterns in the cargo bay that shifted and changed unpredictably. Lyra reacted immediately, moving in sync, attempting to navigate the intricate sequences. Elias and the crew mirrored the patterns with human adjustments, improvising to help Lyra maintain stability. Elias realized that the mother was not merely testing skill or obedience. She was testing morality and understanding. Every time the humans helped Lyra, they demonstrated selflessness. Every time they improvised to adapt, they displayed intelligence and creativity. The Arivian mother was evaluating their essence, the core qualities that defined humanity. Hours passed in this careful engagement. Sweat beaded on Elias' forehead, but he did not falter. Mara and Dr. Kellen moved quickly, coordinating with him, translating the human responses into signals the mother could recognize. Lyra pulsed brilliantly, responding to the combined effort of humans and Arivians. Each successful sequence strengthened the bond, reinforcing trust and mutual understanding. Suddenly, the mother's ship changed the parameters. The sequences became more complex, incorporating patterns that mimicked human instincts, testing judgment and foresight. It was no longer just a simple interaction. It was a problem-solving challenge, one that required Elias to anticipate both Lyra's reactions and the mother's expectations simultaneously. "Commander, these patterns, they're adaptive," Mara said, eyes wide. "She's changing them in real time based on our responses. She's testing our ability to think, to anticipate, to act morally under pressure." Elias nodded, determination settling in his chest. "Then we rise to the challenge. Humans are adaptable. We learn, we innovate, and we act with intention. That's what she needs to see." He crouched beside Lyra, guiding the young Arivian through the next sequence. The creature's small limbs moved gracefully, and its pulses matched the light patterns projected by the mother. Elias responded by adjusting their timing, smoothing transitions and predicting challenges before they appeared. It was an intricate ballet of cognition, intuition, and care, a display of humanity's unique strengths. Hours became days. Sleep was limited to short shifts, and the crew's focus never wavered. Elias realized that this endurance itself was part of the test. The mother was observing not only intelligence and morality, but perseverance and commitment. Humanity was proving that it could sustain compassion and rational thinking even under prolonged scrutiny and stress. During a quiet moment, Dr. Kellen approached Elias in the cargo bay. "Commander, I've been studying the energy pulses. They're not just tests, they're learning patterns. The mother is trying to understand us as much as we are trying to understand her. She's observing how we solve problems, how we respond morally, and even how we comfort Lyra. Every action matters." Elias placed a hand on the young Arivian's containment chamber. "Then we continue. We act with integrity, intelligence, and care. That is the essence of humanity. That is what she will see if we persevere." A breakthrough occurred on the third day of direct engagement. Lyra, responding to a particularly complex sequence, improvised a movement that no human had taught it. The mother's energy patterns shifted immediately, acknowledging the young Arivian's creativity and intelligence. Elias smiled. Humans had created an environment where trust and moral guidance allowed even an alien child to express ingenuity. "This is incredible," Mara said, her voice filled with awe. "Lyra is learning not just from us, but from the environment we've built together." "And the mother is approving in her own way." Elias nodded. "Exactly. Humanity's power is not in domination or strength, it's in nurturing, understanding, and guiding. We have shown her that we can protect and inspire even in the most challenging circumstances." The mother's testing escalated again. This time, she introduced a new element: ethical choices. The energy patterns created hypothetical scenarios where humans had to make split-second decisions affecting Lyra's well-being. Every choice had consequences within the system, and the mother observed every action closely. Elias' mind raced as he assessed each scenario, weighing potential outcomes carefully. He made choices that prioritized Lyra's safety, comfort, and learning, even when easier or faster options existed. Mara and Dr. Kellen followed his lead, adjusting sequences and responding in real time. Each decision reinforced humanity's moral framework: protect life, act with care, and choose integrity over convenience. At one point, the mother's energy patterns created a situation where Lyra's stability was challenged by a sudden change in sequence speed. Elias immediately reacted, adjusting the human response, guiding the young Arivian through the sequence without hesitation. The mother observed, and the sensors recorded a subtle but unmistakable acknowledgement, an approval of human judgment and adaptability. Elias felt a deep sense of pride. They were succeeding, not through power or threat, but through empathy, intelligence, and moral courage. Humanity's uniqueness was shining through, demonstrating a capacity for care and ingenuity that even the Arivians could respect. As the fourth day of engagement dawned, Elias noticed a remarkable change in the mother's energy patterns. They became less rigid, more fluid, almost conversational. It was as if she was testing not just actions, but understanding and communication. Humans were no longer merely responding. They were engaging in a two-way exchange, building trust and mutual comprehension. Lyra pulsed brightly in response, signaling excitement and curiosity. Elias knelt beside the young Arivian. "See, Lyra, she's recognizing us. We are proving that humans can think, feel, and care in ways no one expected. Keep going. Every pulse counts." The crew worked tirelessly, adapting, improvising, and maintaining calm under the pressure of the mother's observation. Each successful interaction reinforced trust, not just between humans and Lyra, but between humans and the mother. Elias realized that they were not simply surviving the test, they were shaping a new relationship, one that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. By the fifth day, the mother's energy patterns had become intricate and nuanced, reflecting complex ethical dilemmas, adaptive challenges, and creative problem-solving tests. Elias and the crew navigated them with precision, using every tool at their disposal: observation, empathy, logic, and ingenuity. During a brief pause, Mara turned to Elias. "Commander, she's learning from us. She's understanding our intentions, our moral choices. This isn't just a test anymore, she's engaging with humanity." Elias nodded, a sense of quiet triumph settling over him. "Exactly, and we have done it without aggression, without force. We've shown her what humans can truly be: protectors, thinkers, and guides. That is what makes us remarkable." The final challenge came without warning. The mother's ship created a scenario that tested human leadership and courage. It simulated potential dangers that could affect Lyra, requiring split-second decision-making with moral and logical implications. Elias acted immediately, prioritizing life, safety, and trust over expedience. Mara and Dr. Kellen supported every decision, and together they navigated the simulation flawlessly. The mother observed intently. Then slowly her ship retracted slightly, sending a complex pulse of light and energy, a gesture of recognition, respect, and approval. Elias felt a surge of accomplishment. Humanity had passed the test, not through dominance or strength, but through the very qualities that defined them: empathy, intelligence, and moral courage. Lyra pulsed brightly, its light reflecting on the human crew. Elias knelt beside the young Arivian, smiling. "We did it, Lyra. We showed her what it means to be human." The Arivian mother remained nearby, observing silently but with a newfound openness. Elias knew that the next steps would be challenging, but the foundation of trust had been laid. Humanity had proven that even in the face of scrutiny by a species far more advanced in certain ways, the combination of empathy, intelligence, and courage could achieve what weapons never could. That night, as the aurora sailed through the stars, Elias reflected on the past days. The tests, the challenges, the moral dilemmas, they had all served a purpose. Humans had demonstrated their unique value to the galaxy, and the bond between species had begun to take root. Lyra's soft pulses illuminated the cargo bay, a symbol of trust, protection, and connection. Elias whispered softly, "This is only the beginning. We have proven what humans can do, but our journey with her is just starting. And we will continue to show the galaxy that humanity is remarkable, not for strength or weapons, but for courage, intelligence, and heart." Outside the ship, the Arivian mother watched quietly, her presence a reminder that the universe was filled with beings capable of great observation, judgment, and understanding. And humanity, through patience, ingenuity, and unwavering care, had begun to earn her respect. The journey ahead would be filled with challenges, but Elias felt a quiet certainty. They had passed the mother's most rigorous tests so far, and humanity had emerged not just unscathed, but stronger, wiser, and more extraordinary in the eyes of the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly, and the aurora sailed onward, carrying humans, Lyra, and the promise of trust, understanding, and remarkable achievement. Humanity had risen to the challenge, proving that even in a universe filled with unknown dangers, the courage to act rightly could shine brighter than any star. The stars outside the aurora shimmered in quiet brilliance, casting silver reflections across the polished hull. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge, eyes trained on the massive silhouette of the Arivian mother's ship hovering near the human vessel. The past days had been filled with tests, challenges, and delicate interactions, but now something had shifted. There was no longer tension in her movements, only measured observation, as if she was preparing for a final judgment. Inside the cargo bay, Lyra's luminous body pulsed gently. The young Arivian had grown confident, responding to the human crew with fluid motions and light patterns. Elias knelt beside it, placing a hand lightly on the containment field. "We've done well, Lyra. Now it's time for the last part of this journey. Stay calm, trust us." Lieutenant Mara Chen and Dr. Kellen were at their stations, monitoring the Arivian energy patterns. "Commander," Mara said, her voice quiet with awe, "she's preparing something different this time. The signals are complex, more like a dialogue than a test. It's as if she wants to communicate directly with us." Elias nodded, feeling the gravity of the moment. This was not merely about protecting the young Arivian anymore. This was the moment to demonstrate humanity's ultimate qualities: courage, intelligence, and moral clarity, under the scrutiny of a being whose power and understanding far surpassed their own. The Arivian mother's ship projected a field of light that enveloped the aurora, creating a shimmering display that filled every corner of the bridge and cargo bay. The light shifted constantly, forming intricate patterns, sequences that pulsed in rhythm with Lyra's glow. Elias realized that this was not only a test but a conversation, a chance to show what humanity represented to the galaxy. He took a deep breath. "We respond as we always have, with patience, intelligence, and care. Every action we take shows who we are." That is what she must understand. For hours, the crew engaged in a silent exchange. Elias guided Lyra through the sequences, improvising when necessary, translating human morality into patterns of light and sound. The Arivian mother responded with increasing complexity, introducing scenarios that required judgment, foresight, and empathy. Each choice made by the humans was observed, analyzed, and reflected back in subtle, nuanced ways. At one point, the mother simulated a potential danger for Lyra, a shift in the energy field that could destabilize the young Arivian's balance. Elias reacted immediately, adjusting the sequence to protect Lyra while maintaining the integrity of the communication. The mother's sensors pulsed slowly, almost approvingly. This was more than observation, this was acknowledgement. Hours passed without pause. The crew's focus never wavered, and Elias realized that the mother's ultimate test was endurance and consistency. Humanity had proven intelligence and morality, but now they needed to demonstrate that they could maintain these qualities under prolonged pressure. Lyra pulsed in response to every human adjustment, creating a complex interplay of light that conveyed trust, curiosity, and confidence. Elias smiled, understanding that their relationship with the young Arivian was now a bridge to the mother, a demonstration that humans could nurture, guide, and protect even those who were not their own species. During a brief lull, Mara turned to Elias. "Commander, she's showing patterns that resemble curiosity and even admiration. She's observing not just how we act, but why, and I think she's starting to understand that our choices are genuine." Elias nodded quietly. "Exactly. She's seeing what defines us, the courage to act rightly, the intelligence to adapt, and the compassion to protect life. That is what makes humanity remarkable." The final phase of the test began at dawn, though the stars outside remained constant and indifferent. The mother projected a massive field of energy, one that filled the cargo bay with a luminous glow so intense it reflected off every surface. Lyra moved carefully within it, guided by the humans, responding to increasingly complex sequences. Every pulse, every motion was a statement of trust and coordination. Elias realized that this was a test of unity. The Arivian mother wanted to see whether humans could act together with intelligence and compassion, even under extreme pressure. Every decision, every movement, and every sequence of thought mattered. He knelt beside Lyra, adjusting the sequences with precise care. "This is it, Lyra. We show her everything we are. She must see that humans act with intention, morality, and heart. Trust us, little one. You are safe." Mara and Dr. Kellen mirrored every adjustment, translating human moral choices into signals the Arivians could interpret. It was a symphony of logic, empathy, and coordination, with Lyra's reactions acting as the central rhythm. Hours blurred as the exchange continued. The mother's energy patterns became increasingly fluid, almost conversational, reflecting not only human actions but also responses to potential consequences. Elias realized that the Arivian mother was seeking proof of consistent moral judgment under unpredictable conditions. At one point, the mother introduced a complex scenario where Lyra's well-being depended on human decision-making. Elias considered multiple options, weighing both safety and morality. He chose the path that prioritized life and trust over efficiency. Mara and Dr. Kellen supported him immediately, adjusting their actions to ensure consistency. Lyra's pulses responded positively, and the mother's ship acknowledged their decision with a subtle but unmistakable shift in energy patterns. By the fifth hour of this final engagement, a remarkable change occurred. The mother's sequences became more relaxed, less rigid. There was a sense of recognition, of understanding. She was no longer just testing, they were engaging in mutual comprehension. Elias felt a surge of hope. Humanity's patience, intelligence, and moral courage had resonated. The young Arivian pulsed brightly, moving fluidly in response to the mother's signals. Elias knelt beside Lyra, whispering softly, "We've shown her what humans can do. Your trust, our choices, our care, it all matters. Keep going." Then, finally, the mother made her move. Her ship emitted a massive pulse of light, enveloping the aurora in a display of energy that was both beautiful and powerful. It was a gesture of acknowledgement, a recognition of the humans' efforts, intelligence, and morality. The crew watched in awe as the light patterns aligned with Lyra's pulses, creating a harmonious exchange that spoke volumes without words. Elias felt a deep sense of triumph. Humanity had passed the ultimate test. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and empathy could bridge species, overcome fear, and inspire respect. No weapon, no technology, no force of intimidation could have achieved what compassion and moral integrity had. The Arivian mother moved her ship slightly closer, maintaining a careful but unmistakable presence. It was a sign of trust, a recognition that the humans were not just protectors of life, but worthy of consideration as allies, guides, and partners in the galaxy. Lyra pulsed brightly, its light reflecting on the faces of the human crew. Elias smiled, kneeling beside the young Arivian. "We did it, Lyra. We've shown her the best of humanity." Mara's eyes were wide with wonder. "Commander, she's acknowledging us." This isn't just recognition, it's respect. She's seeing humans for what we truly are. Elias nodded, a quiet pride settling over him. "Exactly, and this is only the beginning. Humanity has proven its value through intelligence, empathy, and moral courage. The galaxy is watching, and so is she. What we've done here matters, not just for us, but for every life we choose to protect." The Arivian mother lingered nearby, observing quietly but with openness that had never been extended to humans before. Elias knew that this presence was not a threat but an invitation to continue the relationship, to deepen trust, and to prove that humanity could act as a force for understanding and care across species. In the cargo bay, Lyra pulsed one final time, a brilliant display of connection and recognition. Elias placed a hand gently on the containment field, feeling the bond that had grown over days of care, patience, and courage. He understood that protecting Lyra had been more than an act of moral duty. It had been a demonstration of humanity's essence. The stars outside continued their endless march, indifferent to the drama unfolding within the aurora. Yet Elias felt the significance of their actions ripple through the galaxy. Humanity had risen to a challenge that few could imagine, and in doing so, had proven that courage, intelligence, and morality could shine brighter than any weapon or technology. As the Arivian mother slowly moved away, maintaining a respectful distance, Elias felt a sense of accomplishment and hope. Trust had been earned, and a bridge had been built between species. Humanity's qualities, empathy, creativity, and moral courage, had left an indelible mark on the Arivians. Lyra pulsed softly, content, and safe, reflecting the harmony that had been achieved. Elias whispered, "We've done more than protect life, Lyra. We've shown the universe who we are, and will continue to prove it wherever we go." The Aurora sailed onward, carrying its crew, Lyra, and the promise of new understanding across the stars. Humanity had faced the ultimate test and emerged stronger, wiser, and more extraordinary in the eyes of a species once considered an enemy. And somewhere, the Arivian mother watched, not with suspicion or hostility, but with recognition and respect, a silent acknowledgement that the actions of one human commander had demonstrated the power of compassion, intelligence, and courage. Elias Ward stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars. He knew that the journey was far from over, but humanity had proven itself. In a universe filled with unknown challenges, one truth remained. Humans could act rightly, think creatively, and protect life, always. That was their strength, and the galaxy had begun to see it. Lyra pulsed brightly one last time, and Elias smiled. The bond between human and alien was stronger than ever, a symbol of trust, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. The future stretched endlessly before them, full of challenges, discoveries, and opportunities to demonstrate the best of what it meant to be human. And the universe, in its vast silence, had begun to take notice.